A New York judge and his family have reportedly received numerous threats following the arraignment of former President Donald Trump. Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts related to hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. NBC reports that the judge, Juan Merchan, and his family have received dozens of threats, with calls, emails, and letters directed at them. Similar threats have been directed towards Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and other officials. The threats are said to be harassing and defamatory, with most of them coming from out of state. The New York Police Department is providing extra security to all affected staff members. Lucian Chalfen, a spokesperson for the New York Office of Court Administration, said that security concerns and potential threats are being evaluated and re-evaluated, and an increased security presence is being maintained in and around courthouses and throughout the judiciary. Retired conservative Judge J. Michael Luttig has warned Trump that he risks a gag order over his attacks on Judge Merchan. Luttig, an influential voice in conservative circles, predicts the beginning of the end of Donald Trump. Before his arraignment, Trump had stoked controversy with inflammatory social media posts about the case and calls for protest. In a speech at his Mar-a-Lago home in Florida, Trump called Merchan a Trump-hating judge, and attacked the judge's family, while also targeting Bragg and other prosecutors overseeing investigations of his behavior. Overall, the threats directed towards the judge and his family are deeply concerning and demonstrate the need for increased security measures to protect those involved in the judicial process. The judicial system should be allowed to operate without intimidation or fear of retribution. The ongoing investigation of Donald Trump serves as a reminder that no one, not even a former president, is above the law. The threats against Judge Juan Merchan and his family following the arraignment of former President Donald Trump on Tuesday have highlighted the continued polarization and politicization of the U.S. justice system. According to reports, the judge and his family received dozens of threatening calls, emails, and letters, with the content being harassing and defamatory. The New York police have provided extra security to all affected staff members, and the court administration is continuously evaluating and re-evaluating security concerns and potential threats. Subscribe for more content like this. The threats against Judge Merchan are not isolated incidents, as officials, including Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, have received similar threats recently. This has resulted in increased security measures and the removal of biographies of employees at Bragg's office from the district attorney's website. The continued attacks on the justice system by former President Trump and his supporters, including calls for protests and inflammatory social media posts, are a cause for concern. Judge Merchan warned Trump to refrain from making statements that could incite violence and civil unrest, and retired conservative judge and advisor to former Vice President Mike Pence, J. Michael Luttig, has warned that Trump risks a gag order over his attacks on Judge Merchan. The politicization of the U.S. justice system is not new, but the continued attacks on judges and officials are a worrying trend. The justice system is designed to be independent and impartial, and it is essential that it operates without fear or favor. Threats and attacks against officials compromise this independence and threaten the integrity of the system. The threats against Judge Merchan and his family are unacceptable and must be condemned by all. The justice system must be allowed to operate independently, and officials must be free to carry out their duties without fear of threats or intimidation. The continued attacks on the justice system by former President Trump and his supporters are a danger to the rule of law, and it is essential that they are held accountable for their actions. In conclusion, the threats against Judge Juan Merchan and his family following the arraignment of former President Donald Trump are a cause for concern. The politicization of the U.S. justice system and the continued attacks on judges and officials threaten the integrity of the system and compromise its independence. It is essential that officials are free to carry out their duties without fear of threats or intimidation, and that the rule of law is upheld. The justice system must be allowed to operate independently, without fear or favor, and those who seek to undermine it must be held accountable for their actions. The judge and his family receiving threats is an unfortunate and unacceptable situation. It highlights the intense political polarization in the United States, where individuals feel justified in threatening violence against those with whom they disagree. Threats against public officials and their families are unacceptable in any democratic society, and law enforcement agencies must take these threats seriously and take appropriate measures to ensure the safety of those who are targeted. It is important to protect the independence and impartiality of the judiciary, which is a fundamental pillar of the rule of law. It is concerning that former President Trump continues to use inflammatory language against the judiciary and public officials, including the judge in this case, even after leaving office. This creates a hostile environment and encourages his supporters to engage in threatening behavior. It is essential for leaders, especially those in positions of power, to use language responsibly and to avoid statements that can be interpreted as incitement to violence. The situation also underscores the importance of ensuring the safety of judges and their families, as well as all other public officials who are at risk of violence. Threats against public officials must be taken seriously, and law enforcement agencies should be given the necessary resources to investigate and prevent such threats from being carried out. In conclusion, the threats against the judge and his family are a stark reminder of the toxic political environment in the United States and the need to ensure the safety of all public officials. It is incumbent upon leaders to use responsible language and condemn any threats of violence, while law enforcement agencies must take these threats seriously and provide the necessary protection to ensure the safety of those who are targeted. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel for authenticity.